At 2:13 a.m., the hospital waiting room was almost completely silent. The vending machine hummed softly in the corner. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. And in the third chair from the window, there was a folded piece of paper. No name on it. No envelope. Just 4 words written carefully across the front. For whoever needs this. Most people walked past it without noticing. But the person who finally picked it up that night was someone who needed it more than anyone else in that building. Her name was Lena Hartwell. 34 years old. Elementary school librarian. The kind of person who always returned shopping carts and baked cookies for neighbors. But tonight, Lena felt like the world had collapsed. Her father was in surgery down the hallway. Heart failure. The doctors had said the words no one ever wants to hear. We're doing everything we can. Lena had been sitting in that waiting room for 6 hours. 6 hours of staring at the same clock. 6 hours of imagining the worst. Her phone battery had died. Her mind had run out of hopeful thoughts. And the silence felt heavier every minute. So she stood up, just to move. Just to breathe. And that's when she saw the paper. At first, Lena thought it was trash. A receipt. A pamphlet. Something someone forgot. But the handwriting caught her attention. It was neat. Careful. Almost like someone had taken their time writing it. She picked it up. Unfolded it slowly. And began to read. The note said, "If you're reading this, it probably means you're having one of the hardest nights of your life." Lena's breath caught. Hospitals are strange places. They're full of fear, but also miracles. Her hands trembled slightly. 3 years ago, I sat in this exact chair while my wife was in surgery. I was sure I was about to lose her. Lena leaned back into the chair. The waiting room suddenly felt different. Less empty. The letter continued. "I remember staring at the same clock you're probably staring at right now. I remember thinking that if she didn't make it, my life would end in that moment too. But something strange happened. A nurse came out after 4 hours and said the surgery worked. She survived." Lena felt a quiet warmth spread through her chest. The letter went on. "That was the moment I realized something important. Hospitals aren't just where bad news lives. They're where second chances begin." There was a pause in the writing. A small smudge in the ink. Maybe a tear had fallen there. Then the message continued. "If you're here tonight, I don't know your story. But I know something about you. You love someone enough to sit in this room and wait. And that kind of love is powerful." Lena wiped her eyes. She hadn't realized she had started crying. The final part of the letter was shorter. But somehow, heavier. "I promised myself that if my wife lived, I'd come back here one day. Not for sadness, but for hope. So I'm leaving this note for the next person who finds themselves in this chair. Because sometimes hope doesn't come from doctors. Sometimes it comes from strangers." At the bottom of the page were the final words. "Whatever happens tonight, you're stronger than you think. And you're not alone." No name. Just a small heart drawn beside the sentence. Lena sat there quietly. The room hadn't changed. The clock still ticked. The machine still hummed. But something inside her had shifted. The crushing weight in her chest felt lighter. 30 minutes later. The surgery doors opened. A doctor stepped into the waiting room. Lena's heart jumped into her throat. Lena Hartwell? She stood up so fast the chair scraped loudly across the floor. Yes. The doctor smiled gently. And in that moment, she knew. The surgery went well. Her knees nearly gave out. We were able to stabilize him. He's going to need recovery time, but he's going to be okay. Lena covered her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. Not the quiet tears of fear she had cried earlier, but the kind that come when relief crashes over you like a wave. 2 weeks later, Lena walked back into that same hospital waiting room. Her father was recovering well. Walking again. Laughing again. Complaining about hospital food again. But Lena hadn't come back to visit him. She walked straight to the third chair by the window. The same one where she had found the letter. She sat down. Pulled out a pen. And a sheet of paper. Then she began to write. Her message started like this. If you're reading this, you're probably having one of the hardest nights of your life. She smiled softly. Then added something new. 2 weeks ago, I sat in this same chair and found a letter that helped me breathe again. Tonight I'm leaving one for you. She folded the paper carefully. Placed it gently on the chair. And walked away. Because somewhere, someday, another stranger would sit there. Another heart would feel like it was breaking. And a simple note on a hospital chair might change everything.